All right. Good evening, everyone. We welcome you to Prerana Sakhi Network's speaker series to celebrate Women's History Month, Girls Got Goals. Prerana is established as an organization by women, for women, and is working towards inspiring, connecting, and empowering South Asian immigrant women to achieve their dreams and realize their aspirations. Our community expressed the desire for empowering topics and courageous conversations, and we heard you by bringing this speaker series to hear stories from some amazing women who have traversed these paths and continue to make strides in the respective fields. And they are going to be joining us to share their insights with us. Anjali, thank you for bringing it up. Note these days, mark your calendars. And finally, ladies, wish you all a very, very happy, empowering, and powerful Women's Day ahead. And with this, I hand it over to Anjali to introduce our amazing speaker of the day, Sonia Prashar.
Thank you, Prajakta. Good evening, friends, and a warm welcome to everyone gathered here for the Girls Got Goals series. Today, we have the privilege of engaging with a leader whose work has made a tangible impact on the field of clinical research and beyond. I'm delighted to introduce Sonia Prashar, the driving force behind AIM Trials as its founder and CEO. Sonia's extensive 18-year career is marked by her dedication to advancing medical science through innovative clinical studies. Her work has a special focus on mental health, striving to break down the barriers of stigma and foster a more understanding community. Sonia's leadership at AIM Trials is renowned, overseeing research that spans from early phase trials to late stage developments. She doesn't just lead her team in research. She leads by example in her commitment to community service, as evidenced by her active involvement with organizations like NAMI and NOCD. Her passions extends to her volunteer work, where she educates and inspires as a teacher at the Chinmaya mission every week. At her core, Sonia is a person who finds balance in life, cherishing time spent in nature with her beloved pet and with those she holds dear. As we commence today's session, we are indeed lucky to be in the presence of such a multifaceted individual. Let's soak into Sonia's experiences and the wisdom she has to share. Welcome, Sonia. We are so glad to have you with us, and we are very excited to know more about the clinical research field. So without taking any more time, I'm going to hand over to Shilpa to begin our session. Also, if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to put it in the chat or raise your hand. Over to you, Shilpa.
Thank you so much, Prajakta and Anjali. And I echo your feelings, Anjali, because I can say it from experience. I have worked with Sonia, and I always tell this to Sonia that you are one of the smartest persons I have ever met. So let's start it. First, again, welcome you all. So we'll know, Sonia, what exactly clinical research, because this terminology came in limelight during pandemic, or maybe after pandemic, the research, clinical trials for vaccination and stuff. So everyone got to know it. So that terminology, we would like to know more about what exactly is clinical research.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much to Prerana, Shilpa, and Prajakta and team for doing such a wonderful job and giving me this opportunity. It's a little scary because you guys are wonderful and multifaceted women yourself. I know Shilpa personally, doing PhD, managing Prerana, your first magazine. It's wonderful, wonderful step. Likewise, Prajakta, I don't know how you girls do it, but whatever you're doing amazing job. But so to just give an overview to people who probably don't know what clinical research is, anything that is supposed to be in the market, for instance. Can you hear me? So anything that has to go through, basically any medication that has to go in the market has to go through a series of research phases, including your Advil, Tylenol. COVID vaccines were something that people just found out about clinical research. It is basically a way of discovering new health information. It could be also as simple as releasing a new drug or a new device that is yet to come into the market, or it could be something that is already in the market, but we want to get more information about. So it has to go through different testing phases. And it is most of them, I would say, most of these clinical trials are overseen by the FDA. A lot of this has a stigma within our society, especially the South Asian society, that, oh, because it is in research, it is not approved yet, it is not good for us. I would, on the other hand, on the contrary, would say, because it is in testing phase, you are actually seen more closely and observed more closely than it would be out there in the market. How many times there are medications that are given to us as prescriptions, and the doctor says, oh, come back in 3 months. But in clinical trials, usually you will have a set protocol that is managed by the FDA, that is already released, that is approved by your ethics committee, or we call them as review boards. So before it even has come to us as clinical research sites, physicians, it has to pass certain amount of committees and boards. It has to pass different phases before it can come to us to even start testing on volunteers. There are also preclinical data that is available on these medications. So this is very important, especially for our South Asian community, to understand that just because it is in clinical trial phase, it is not safe. It, in fact, is going to be overseen much more closely, and you will be in safer hands. So that's basically the gist of what is clinical trials.
Yeah. Thank you, Sonia. I think you brought up very good point of social stigma among South Asian community. We'll definitely talk about it in later, after a few questions, I guess. So, but we would like to know more about your journey. Like, did you choose to be in this field, or you came in this field by chance or by choice, like that?
I actually came into this field by chance.
Okay.
So I have done my master's in genetics, and I was actually waiting for spring semester to come here for my PhD. It was during that break time that one of my professors at Tata Institute in Bombay, he told me about clinical research. And he said, Merck is looking for somebody to work in clinical research. It's a brand new industry, and it is going to be something that's going to be taking over the world. And I think you should definitely think about it. And I had time, so I applied. I got the job with Merck in oncology, and I never looked back again. I simply loved it.
Awesome. So that's how you came in this field.
Yes.
Then what were your thoughts or intentions behind starting a clinical trial, AIM trials? Because it's like you are founder and CEO of this company. So what were you thinking about it?
So I have worked primarily in different industries within clinical trials, including bedside cardiology. I started my journey in oncology. From oncology, I've moved to urology, to dermatology, including bedside, like surgical, clinical research at Baylor Research Institute here in Plano, Heart Hospital primarily, in cardiovascular and cardiothoracic. I've also worked in mental health. But during this time, I realized that there is a lack of clinical research sites catering towards mental health. If you right now, within just DFW, right now, obviously there is quite a bit handful, but if you were just to Google clinical research in DFW, you will find different clinical research sites or clinics, from and they all do vaccines, to dermatology, to, internal medicine, which is family medicine, but very handful of them are into mental health. And I work very closely also with TIPS, which is Texas Indian Physician Association or Society. And one of the biggest conversations we always have is how to break the stigma of mental health within our South Asian community. And in doing so, I developed some connections, and I was very fortunate enough to meet with an Indian physician, Dr. Sejal Mehta. She is a board-certified child and adolescent and adult psychiatrist. And she and I had a bonding over how we would like to embark on this journey of basically starting clinical research, especially in pediatric, adolescent, and adults mental health studies. AbbVie, which was previously known as Allergan, they were one of our very first clients. So I had worked with them a long time back, and I was taking like a break after my kids were born, but I had this industry connection. So a medical science liaison from AbbVie one day just randomly called me saying, hey, we have a depression study in pediatrics. We would like you to do it. We would like Dr. Mehta to do it, but only if you and her collaborate together. So August 18th of 2018, I would say, literally that was a call, and I had to form the company right then and there. The whole idea was to have South Asian providers to cater to our South Asian population in mental health.
That's amazing. How inspiring. Seriously. So you mentioned that mainly you work in mental health.
Mhm.
So when you started your company in 2018, right? August 18, 2018, I know it's not easy to gather everything and just keep going. So
Yes.
what are the challenges that you face in this journey? And especially being a woman, being an immigrant, did you face any, you want to share any particular experiences with us?
Not as an immigrant, I would not say that. I think as a business owner in general, it is a lot of hard work, 100%. And I would have not been able to do it if I did not have the village I needed. And when I say the village, obviously I have 2 kids. So I needed somebody to take care of my kids. And that's when my husband stepped in. I have been lucky and very fortunate to have a set of friend circle who I would call them as my family. And they understood that I am embarking on a new journey, and I will need all the support I need. Work-wise, because I had been doing what I had been doing for so many years, I had a plan. However, you have to be ready to give in more than 14 hours a day to start anything new. And you girls know that more than I do. But what makes a huge difference is, yes, everybody is going to be scared. But what is going to be very important is to understand you need to have the village that you need to be successful. You cannot do it alone. And I think that is for any new journey in general.
Yes, that's so true. Teamwork. We definitely need team inspiration.
And you need the right people to cheer on to you.
That is so true. Yep, yep. So what do you think, during this journey, did you feel any time like giving up? Oh, why did I choose this? Why am I doing it? Any lows that you would like to share?
No, I never had that. I truly love what I do. I'm extremely passionate about what I do. There will always be hardships. There will always be challenges. You cannot run away from them. You just have to accept them as a roadblock, and you have to continue on to it. You will have to figure out a detour. but giving up is not an option. It's just finding another route to reach to your destination.
Wow, that is so important. And Sonia, I have seen you because like so many times it happens like I'm like, oh my God, what is she gonna do now? And you just like with your calm face and everything, you just do it. I want to know more about that aspect of you. Like if you are facing anything and it's like, okay, I don't know what to do now, but still you handle that situation very well. Can you please tell us like how is it like acquired skill or you are born with this skill?
I don't think I'm born with it, but that's a good compliment. It is definitely an acquired skill. And like anything that you do, like if this is your house, you know what your exit routes are. Having to know what the exit routes are is absolutely important. Because once you know what is your exit route, and if you do face a challenge, you know exactly where you need to turn to. And that's with the same thing with forming a company, knowing the regulations in this industry specifically, knowing the situations, obviously that comes with experience and with any other job as well. It's just understanding where and what skill to apply and what regulations need to be applied to as well. But for me, the primary always focus has been patient safety. I am completely focused on one thing, and that is making sure patient safety is not compromised at any given point of time. When you have that goal, you understand that that is your primary focus, which is patient safety. The other aspect is knowing the regulations thoroughly, knowing the protocols that you're working on like the back of your hand. Once you know these pillars, any situation that you're faced with, you'll automatically be able to handle it with ease.
Very well said. Yes. I think the people who are in this field or who knows what is protocol, they will definitely understand what you are trying to say, trying to tell. So I think I want to highlight 2 points that you mentioned in this answer, like know your exit routes. And second is like giving up is not an option. So definitely when you know that giving up is not an option, you automatically find alternate routes. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing this. And in this journey, what are your major takeaways? Like, what do you think? What are the things that you learned yourself?
Be ready for a lot of hard work. Be ready for a lot of hard work. Nothing is going to be easy. Once you know you're ready for the hard work and nothing is going to be easy, once you're prepared for the worst, everything else is just a piece of cake.
Yes.
Can I?
Prajakta, are you saying something? Yeah.
Sorry, just a follow-up question. I was kind of managing two devices. But a follow-up question, Sonia, like, when you mention about protocols and being prepared, really. So does it come with a lot of homework in a way, right? Like, a lot of self-study, which you would need to do. And how do you manage that? Because anything new you're trying to do, anything you're trying to create, it does, like, you have to do the groundwork, but yes, at the same time, you have to look towards the future. So any thoughts on that?
So just to answer, yes. So a lot of these research protocols, they are pretty in-depth. With that being said, I alone cannot do it. I'm very lucky and very fortunate to have an amazing team, and Shilpa has worked in my office, so she can firsthand attest. I have been very fortunate enough to have a team who take up a lot of burden and a lot of responsibilities. With that being said, it's not me alone who has to do reading these protocols. These are assigned projects, in other words. Like in IT sector, you would say projects. I would use that term. And each individual obviously has a team, and there are trainings involved that are absolutely thorough. And there are basically resources in place for every individual who's on that team, for like the project team, to know exactly what is expected from them. Without these trainings, you are, in other words, not even allowed to see a patient. You will not be even allowed to proceed to do any project-related activities. For in our office, we have weekly meetings where we go over each project. Not really Scrum Master. There is no Scrum Master here. So we do it, we call it as weekly meetings. We go over each project, go over what we are looking for. And then at the beginning of any project, we have what we call as initiation visit, where we go in detail on what is expected, what patient population we're looking, what is to be done, how long is this project for, how many times are we going to see this patient for, and it's pretty thorough and pretty intense. All this is documented. In clinical research, if it is not documented, it did not happen. So it is pretty thorough, it is pretty intense. We also have an external auditor and an educator who comes in twice a month just to go over the basics and revision, essentially, of the regulations and randomly auditing the chart, because that is how you have to keep up with the compliance and with the regulations that are out there in the market. So it is a pretty rigorous and a pretty intense process.
Yeah. Any other question? Any other question? Or we can go to the next question. Okay. Okay, then next question I would like to ask, like, this is about your journey and how you're managing, but can you please tell us about the opportunities that are available in clinical research?
Yes. So clinical research, if you look at it as its own industry, it is a branch in medical industry in healthcare. There are two sectors to it, if I may. One is going to be a clinic side, like us. And the other side is going to be a pharmaceutical side, like Pfizer, Moderna. So the opportunities are there are pretty long lists of opportunities. If you choose to stay with, let's say, a clinical research site, that is where we see patients. On clinical research site, you will have clinical research coordinators who are primarily responsible for running the project. They coordinate the activities, basic activities of any clinical research project. Then you have clinical data entry coordinators for people who probably don't want to see patients, who are not comfortable, or who want more flexibility. They basically opt in for being a clinical data entry coordinator role. We have sometimes moms who work, and we call it as moms division, because they come in after dropping the kids and they leave when it's time for picking up the kids. Their job is simply to enter the data into the database. Then we have regulatory, which is where Shilpa worked. It is also, it can be flexible to some extent. And that job is basically maintaining all these project binders, submissions to the pharmaceuticals, to the committees that are involved, making sure the coordinators who are patient-facing, they are up to date with, hey, this is something new that came through. You may want to use this because, they are on top of the regulations, basically. So these are on the clinical research site facing. On the pharmaceutical side, on the other hand, you have clinical research associates or CRAs that usually requires a lot of traveling. And their job is to come to clinics like us to make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to do, like auditors. Then you have safety vigilance, where they basically are mainly looking at safety data, safety newsletters, etc. Then there's statisticians that are involved, protocol writing committee or medical writing committee. So there are, and also regulatory again on their end, because they have to submit everything to the FDA. So there is not a formal education in clinical research. To work in clinical research, unless it's a safety data, or I believe in the medical review committee, which requires typically an MD, or at least a foreign MD, a basic graduate degree, preferably in medical field or biology, is helpful. But otherwise, there is not a formal education. It is learning on the job is the education.
Yeah, I think that is interesting. So the women who really, suppose after coming here on H4 without EAD, once they get EAD, there is a gap in their career. And they are from, as you mentioned, like they have done bachelor's in biology or some medical field, medical related or healthcare related field from India or
Yes.
somewhere in other country.
Yes.
If they want to enter in this field,
Yes.
what are the routes that they can use, and how they can, like, can you please elaborate on?
Yes.
Shilpa, I would like to add in that not only, sorry for interruption. So suppose someone don't have a medical background or someone don't have any biological like education. Is it possible that person like from engineering background, any like civil engineering, chemical engineering can enter into this field?
Yes. Good question. Actually, yes. So I know Shilpa had a break in her career, and she's a dentist from India. No, am I right? Yes, you are. And she started in our office as a regulatory person. She did not know where she wanted to start. And so clinical research industry typically still is a little bit of a word of mouth. Like if you know someone, it's easier to get into. Because like I said, there is not a formal education in this industry. With that being said, obviously you can still search for jobs in clinical research coordinating, clinical research regulatory, data entry. There is on a clinical research site perspective, I know a lot of women do ask me if there is a work from home job, not on a clinical research site level. Pharmaceutical, maybe, but not on the site level, because it is patient facing, and you cannot, unfortunately, obviously, because of regulations and HIPAA, take the data home for any purposes. So for anybody who has taken a break, I would highly recommend, if you're in DFW, please reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to me, and I would be more than happy to help you out. If you want to just start out brand new into this industry, find some clinic close to you and see if you can volunteer there. I myself, back when I first moved here in 2006, I started as a volunteer in a clinical research site in Dallas, and I volunteered for 2 years, literally volunteering, no pay, full-time job. And they sponsored my H1. Luckily enough, it got picked in the lottery. But don't think that your volunteering means, just because you're not getting monetary benefit does not mean that it is a wasted experience. That experience that you're getting is invaluable. For those 2 years, if I had not volunteered for free, I do not think I would have learned. And it is as simple as understanding the accent. A lot of times when you have patient volunteers who are coming into the clinic, they are going to be from different parts of the city, parts of rural sometimes. So use every opportunity as a learning experience, and start with volunteering to see if you even like this industry, especially if you're not from biology field. If you are from engineering background, for instance, see if you like this field. Let the employer know, hey, I'm looking just to volunteer, just to understand this industry. I would like to know what all is available. Get that knowledge for yourself. Like when I met Shilpa first time, I told her she wanted flexibility. I told her then patient facing is not going to be her, because when you are involved with patients, you don't have flexibility. You are on their clock. When they decide to come, they may have an appointment at 3, but they may show up at 3:30. So you cannot be flexible there. Instead, why don't you choose regulatory? Because that has more flexibility. So I gave her the option, let her try there. I gave her the option of data entry, let her try there. Start with volunteering to understand what clinical research is, what all is involved in clinical research, what all different departments are in clinical research, which will give you more insight, because there is no other formal education. I mean, there are certifications. I should not say that. There are certifications out there, but not like an actual degree that people sought. I mean, now there are, I know of, but not so many people would pursue it. This is a good way to get into this industry and see if this is even a fit for you.
Sonia, thank you for your information. I have another question that, as you said, like look for any volunteering opportunity. But I am in US since last 10, 12 years, and it was very difficult without having prior experience, and especially as I have a civil engineering degree. So any clinical or any healthcare department, even though I was ready to work for a free of cost and just to get experience, but no one entertain you without having any experience.
Yes, unfortunately, yes, that is, unfortunately, you will see that a lot. And again, like I said, industry is a very closed industry, meaning it's a very small industry. Now, because of COVID, it has become pretty well known to a lot of people. It is, I mean, I've been in this industry since 2003, and I will still meet people and work with the people that I worked back then. And with that said, that's how small this industry is. Pretty much everybody knows everybody. So it will help if you join, let's say, Facebook groups. There are Facebook groups for clinical research. Feel free to post in there. If you're in the DFW area, you feel free to contact me. And I may not have an immediate requirement, but I can definitely guide you to somebody who may need something, or I can at least give you some contacts. But I would start with probably getting onto the Facebook groups. And that's how my first volunteering job was through Orkut. I just happened to meet a friend who I've still not met. She lives in Austin, who introduced me to one of our community members, Smriti Apte. Many of you all must have known her. She was my first boss. And I got the volunteering position because of Orkut. Don't shy away from publicly posting, saying, hey, I'm looking for a volunteer position in this industry. Because when you reach out through these informal channels, there is always somebody out there looking and saying, hey, I'm not the hiring manager, but I do know my department does need somebody. So feel free to reach out small clinics, see if they need, and I know hospitals like Baylor, if you're in Dallas, Baylor, Presby, they always are looking for volunteer positions. And so Methodist, feel free to reach out to them saying, hey, I'm looking for a volunteer position. What can you please tell me what's the best route to reach to either a social service, social service worker, or your HR. Again, remember, if you're reaching out to these smaller companies through the formal channels, you're reaching typically to a hiring manager or the HR. But if you're looking for more volunteer in smaller companies, it's always better to just reach out through these informal networks, because that's a better way of getting somebody's attention sometimes.
That helps, Sonia. I think so that might actually answer a couple of questions which we received in the chat. Like one of them is that It says, is there a basic skill set such as healthcare certification if you don't have a medical background? Can you share some websites or places we can apply in DFW? Would hospitals be a good place to start? I think so. You did cover most of it, but if not, please feel free to ask again, Priya.
There are certifications. I honestly don't know on the top of my head, but I can search up and send it over to Shilpa and Prajakta, who can maybe, let everybody know. But like I said, this industry, I would rather say it is more of getting trained on the job type of an experience or role. If you are, yes, would you prefer to work in hospital? So having worked in hospital, I would not say that would be the starting point. That is not your starting point, just because within the hospital industry, it is pretty intense. And it requires someone with at least 4 to 5 years of experience, because when you are let loose after training, most of these hospitals, because of the nurses and rotation schedules, you might find yourself looking for help and not having anybody around you. Additionally, when you're working in hospital systems, a lot of physicians or surgeons, if you're working in surgical divisions, they are so busy that if they ask a question, you should know the answer right then and there. So for someone who's starting brand new, I would not recommend hospital systems as a starting point. It's definitely an experience everybody should have. But I would recommend starting in smaller clinics. I know AIM trials, there are other clinics like ACRC. There is Downing Research. There is Synexis. So there are plenty of other clinics that are always looking. And I know they are good clinics to start, as a starting point to get your foot in the door.
Got it. And I believe, having knowledge of terminology, medical terminology is not mandatory, right? Like it can all be learned on the job.
Yes. It's helpful, definitely helpful. And I know a lot of nowadays the jobs that I am looking, I'm seeing the ads, they do require biology, at least basic biology. But it's okay, depending on the industry, that of course, if you're dermatology, yes, it's definitely fine, Again, depending on the department that you're working in, that also helps.
Sure. I think so. Yogita has her hand raised for a while.
Yeah.
Yogita, go on.
Sonia,
Okay,
Yogita is joining us from Toronto.
Yeah,
Oh.
hi Sonia, and I'm specially
Hi.
interested in clinical research and regulatory affairs. That's for someone who asked about the certification. So recently, I'm doing one certification from Toronto, Seneca College. It's regulatory affairs, pharmaceutical regulatory affairs and quality control. So in which I have now, I'm just now I joined this clinical research subject. So in that subject, I came to know that there are many opportunities. And then I came to know about Shilpa and and then about your lecture. So someone who wants to know about certification, there is one certification course which has 10 subjects in it. So especially means especially for the who wants to switch their career for the regulatory affairs or clinical research or QA or QC jobs. So now I'm just trying to understand how I can get an entry into the clinical research, because I have a PhD in life sciences. All my education, not education, the Canadian work experience is in healthcare. But now then I want to pursue something in related to my field. So I joined this course. So in coming 2 months, I'll finish it. But maybe in future, I just want to switch from Toronto to Dallas. So that's another my straightforward question is is it gonna be easy for me to
Switch jobs and switch city?
Job and place, yeah, with the
Depends again on which look, like what industry, again, within clinical research you're looking for. There are plenty of jobs in the market. There are plenty of jobs. In fact, regulatory is the least favored job, to be honest with you, because it's considered not cool. Because everybody wants to be in front of patients, remember, right? But not everybody is suited to face the patient because of whatever, there are different reasons for it. But my sister, actually, who is in Seattle, she did her master's in regulatory and she works for the university, Seattle Children's University, and she is the director of regulatory affairs there. She started her career actually at a very, very small company, a clinical research site, started her experience, got all that experience there, moved to a mid-sized pharmaceutical company, and then she moved to the university setting. With that being said, for regulatory, yes, pharmaceuticals are always looking for, so are universities here. They are constantly, the hospital systems are always looking for, especially children's hospital, because children's hospitals typically always have open positions because it requires a lot of in-depth skills, but also they are a little stringent with hiring. So to answer your question, yes, you'll always have a job here.
Thank you.
And we have a question in the chat. Nutan has asked about what is the career growth in this field.
Mm-hmm. So the career
and
growth.
actually, just to follow up, there's another question on the same lines, that what is the career ladder when we started at CRC level, if you want to.
Right. So the career growth, there, I always say sky is the limit. When we say career growth, we have to sometimes also look back and see yes, I have the experience. With career growth, you are also going to have to be able to do work-life balance. Everybody wants money. I want money. Everybody wants money. Everybody wants to grow in career. But the reason I say this is because I know a lot of women who come to me and say, Sonia, I have this experience and now I want career growth. After 2 years, what do I do? But I don't want to travel. I want flexibility. I have, to do this. When you are looking for career growth, when in clinical research site position, you have clinical research coordinator, clinical research manager, clinical research director. But beyond that, it becomes stagnant. Pros, you have a bit of flexibility. You go home, you typically don't have to work. Cons, you're stagnant after a few years and the pay does not grow that much. Likewise, in regulatory, it's pretty similar. You start as a regulatory coordinator and then you become a regulatory manager. Pharmaceutical side, on the other hand, is much more open. There are a lot of positions available, but you will have to start somewhere at the ground level if no experience, but that requires a lot of traveling. And I know as moms, it's very difficult, especially South Asian community. We are pretty averse to the idea of traveling because we want to come back home to our children. So when I say traveling, that sometimes can be pretty intense, like Monday through Thursday sometimes, and week after week. But it's a pros. There is a lot of career growth, like you become a line manager, you become the clinical trial manager, the project manager. There is a lot of growth there. Also, there's a lot more money because at the end of the day, pharmaceutical industry is the bank. Cons, you have to put in, sometimes you have to, a lot of times you have to be away from your family because you're traveling. You are expected to turn in reports. So as like in COVID trials, I know let's say, the reports had to be turned in within 24 hours. And they had to come and see data for like hundreds and hundreds of patients. And so there is a pro and con. It is about, now that you're in the industry, where do I see myself more? And am I okay with traveling? Or do I need more flexibility? It is all about finding that balance.
Yes. That you need to see, you need to ask yourself what are your priorities and what exactly you want.
So I started in the pharmaceutical industry, which required a lot of traveling. I got burnt out within 2 years, and I did not have children, and it was not something I enjoyed. I moved to patient-facing role with 60% pay cut. But positive was I enjoyed my patient-facing role. I'm also a trained dancer, so at that time I was managing a studio in Irving. It gave me time to work on my hobby, work on the passions that I have, and also be home, and I can still flip channels, remote channels.
Yes. Yeah, Sonia is a trained Bharatanatyam dancer, right?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Okay, there is one more question from Tanisha. What are some soft and transferable skill in clinical data management sectors?
Oh, I actually, I can't speak for clinical data management on pharmaceutical because I've never worked in that industry. I would be more than happy to connect you with some of the leadership teams in this industry if you are interested to get more information. On the clinical research site level, it is basically data entry. Like, you just need basic computer knowledge.
Okay.
We have another question. Priya's got her hand raised.
Okay.
She's got a question. Priya? Not sure if that was by mistake.
Okay. Okay.
There was one more question in the chat earlier on, and it was about we have been talking about moms really, but at the same time, there are a lot many who are looking for internships and high school internships, college internships for the kids too. Are there any opportunities? Any moms would benefit for the kids?
Yes. So at AIM Trials, we have lot of interns and lot of volunteer students, especially during summertime. We typically hire for volunteer or internships 16 years and older. We've had kids who have now gone to PA school. We have one who's going to Yale this year for her med school. We have kids who are right now waiting to be matched into residency. So we've been doing this every single year. And this year, actually, I was fortunate enough to form a network because my own kids are getting older, and I see a need in basically a need in the society right now, because I see a lot of children who come and they don't know what to do. I want to do pre-med. They don't know what pre-med is. I want to do medicine, but you have no exposure to it. Or I want to do finance. Okay, but you don't know what all is involved. So this year, actually, I formed a little network with a small CPA firm, a small engineering firm, and myself, and a private doctor's clinic. And we will be doing rotations for these children. So we will be basically giving them exposure to different industries to help them understand what is available for them in the market what all they could do as a career. In being just wanting to do medical does not mean you have to be a doctor, because there is a lot of competition and we all know that, and it's just going to go more. What all other opportunities are available? So we also have a psychologist. We have two actually psychologists who will also be taking on interns. So the children have exposure to psychologists, shadowing them, shadowing internal medicine or family medicine doctors, shadowing a clinical research team, shadowing a CPA's office and an accountant there, shadowing with the engineering, it's a construction company, shadowing with them to understand different aspects of these industries. And they will be basically given a schedule on which week where they will be shadowing, and we'll relay that information to the parents so they know where to take them and what week where their kids are going to be.
All right. And if somebody wants to know more about this group, they can get in touch with you, Sonia?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And when we say like get in touch with Sonia, like do you want us to share your phone number or email?
My email would be better.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you so much. I think Zai asked the same question, like how can we someone join this group or
You can email me. So right now we are only starting with 5 children, and we already have about 6 registered. Because it's going to be a very pilot program for us as well within our group right now, or the committee that we've created. And we want to also see that it is feasible for the practice. We cannot have more than a certain number of children at one time, because it does take a lot of energy, it does take a lot of time out of the staff, but also in any company for that matter, there are regulations in place, so we want to abide with that.
Yes, it's a very nice initiative and I think much needed.
We do need that, and hopefully it will be a success.
Yeah, it will be definitely. Yogita, do you have any question? Your hand is raised.
Yeah, I have one question. Sonia, it is regarding the medical devices. So what will be the upcoming challenges and opportunities for the medical devices? As I heard, like it's a small market.
Very small.
Yeah.
Very small market. See, that is another thing I always tell children. Don't just think of being in medical as just being doctors. Biomedical engineering is a field that is really unexplored. And it has a lot of opportunities. And it is, as long as there is human body, biomedical division is going to just boom. You will need stents, you will need kneecaps, you are going to need devices, hearing aids to everything, including shunts in your brain. So it's not a division or a department or a company that will ever shut down. In fact, if anything, with AI, it is going to just go on a boom. In fact, NVIDIA's CEO, Hansen himself, said, if anything, he would rather focus now on AI within healthcare. So that means the boom in healthcare medical device is just about to start.
Yes. And there is one more question in the chat box. I think VP's iPhone, he or she has asked this question. The initiative that you have started regarding that group, is it like, are you charging any fees for that?
No. We are not charging any fees. It is completely volunteer.
Oh, nice. Thank you. It's really a great initiative. Does anyone have any question?
Aditi says kids as young as 4 can, yes. And there are prerequisites that need to be met, yes.
Oh, is it Aditi? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yes, hi. I had a question. This is Priya. Well, thank you so much, Sonia. This was a great session. I'm sorry I couldn't catch a lot of what you said because somebody didn't have the mute button on and there was a lot of background noise. So I know you mentioned a couple of places that we can start for volunteering. Can you, maybe share them somehow,
Yeah.
maybe on the chat, or if we can have your email?
Yes, you can definitely. I'll put my email ID on the chat, and feel free to email me. And we can basically even you can send me a resume, and just if you want to let me know where in DFW you live, I can help you try to at least connect you with some clinics or the physicians I know who are running clinical trials and are looking for volunteers.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course.
There's another question here regarding your initiative, Sonia.
Yes.
Asking if there's any similar initiative for women with gap foreshadowing at all, or helping to choose some varied career paths.
So I don't think there is. It's a good initiative to have. I think everybody should. And I think more than happy to help Prerana start this initiative because it isn't, women are in dire need of something like this. Because what we studied to what we are actually doing sometimes does not match. And we need a helping hand, and only women can help each other.
Absolutely. Thank you,
yes.
Sonia. And I think so that is an underlay to the foundation what we are trying to do here at Prerana
Absolutely.
to help women getting back to the workforce. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think Poonam has a question, but you answered it. Like, what is the minimum age requirement for job shadowing for high school students who are that was mentioned earlier? I think you said 16 and above, right?
Because then at that age, the kids can still, they are able to drive, and it helps. A little maturity is also needed.
Yes. Okay. So I think we are almost done. I think you have answered all the questions. And Sonia, this is so amazing. Thank you so much. You have touched base on like everything from the high schoolers or from the kids to the women who have gap in their career, till like how you can how you can have successful career in clinical research. And few points I really want to highlight, like when Nutan asked about like how much you can keep trying, because it's very difficult to get voluntary position. But you said like, yeah, don't shy away like from talking to anyone. And believe me, I have been there. Just keep talking to people. I am in need. I am looking for opportunities. If you know anything, if you know anybody, please let me know. Just keep going. Don't give up. Don't like giving up is not an option.
Giving up is an option, and we all have been there at one point or the other.
Yes.
I did not do my master's or PhD or my education here, and I can vouch for myself saying that yes, it is frustrating.
Yep.
Especially if you have worked in India and you move here, leaving everything behind. Trust me, I've been there. Just remember, hope is your best friend. Don't shy away.
Yes.
Right now, you have a very strong Indian community here. Back when I moved here, it was a handful of Indian people. One of the biggest things that I will 100% highlight is when we are out there looking for jobs or any opportunities, we have to be mindful. We are in somebody else's house. With what that means is learn the way they talk. Learn to understand some of the jokes. I don't like cowboys, or I don't like Mavericks. I don't follow. I am going to, because I want to have a conversation with them. Learn to adapt to these new ways of living. Learn to understand it's not saline, it's saline. Understand these terminologies. It's not I have parked my car in the garage. It's garage. It's color with no hue. Small things, when you are mindful of, it will help you when you are having a conversation of somebody who does not look like you, who does not speak your language, who does not understand you culturally. Remember, we are the ones here in need. They are not.
Right, Sonia. Very true. This happened with me. I interviewed at Johnson and Johnson company, and I'm actually working in computer system validation for medical device company. And I had an interview, so I completed around like 4 or 5 rounds. But because of my strong accent, Indian accent, company has decided not to hire me,
I
and
know
they
they
give me a
cannot say
feedback.
that. I know they cannot say that because they have to be fair market, but let's not have a stigma around us either. Also, one of the important things, I should say this, our kids are ultimately here. Knowing these nuances will help us connect with our own children on a different level too, because they are going to follow Mavericks. They are going to follow Cowboys. They are going to be kids of this generation, and they are, at the end of the day, Americans. The roots are Indians. So let's connect with our children. Instead of expecting them to adapt to us, we need to come midway to adapt to them as well. So it is not just a workforce, but it is also at home that will help us connect with our children. And one thing which I think we all, and it may sound a little off, but one thing when we do go, now that COVID's over, everybody's expected to go back to work. And I know Shilpa will agree to this with me a little bit. When you go back to workforce, remember, representation of yourself is important. We don't smell the masalas on us. Remember that, but somebody else does. So when we are out there, the first thing they notice is the smell of sometimes that we give tadka in the house. And Shilpa is laughing because she knows what I'm talking about. Let's be mindful of our own, how we present to the outside world. Let them not feel like, oh, look at them. And I've been there, I've seen it, I've witnessed it. We need to change the stigma around this Desi community where we're not whitewashed, but at the same time, we are mingling with them, also talking their language, and still holding our own cultural roots.
Yes, you have made some great points, Sonia. These are like not related to clinical research, but in overall.
It's important.
Yes, so important, so very important. Yes, I think we are out of time now. And
Yeah.
if you have any questions, please email us, or if you have any feedback, please email us at prerana@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, like how did you find this session and what are you expecting from us? If you have any expectations, please let us know. And thank you so much, Sonia. It's like I knew that this session is going to be great, and it is like you have been amazing. I have no words to express my gratitude. Like you have started our series, and it was great session. Prajakta, do you want to say anything? Any last words?
No, absolutely, Sonia, brilliantly, you answered. And while the session was on the topic of clinical research, I think so there were some amazing points which you made, which encompasses, just us as South Asian women integrating into this community. And as you said, having that, knowing what the boundary is, at the same time, not getting whitewashed, but at the same time, being able to be a part of the community and create a more blended environment. And I loved it, with how much compassion you mentioned, all these points. Absolutely. And I would have loved to, for us to keep on going and ask you more questions. But I think so. Yeah, we'll definitely catch up. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
To the entire team of Prerana, and thank you everybody for joining in as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. The email ID is in the chat if anybody wants to send in any questions. Sonia's contact details were also shared earlier. We are here on our WhatsApp group, our Facebook group. Most of you would know me or Shilpa and some others from the community. Feel free to ask questions, feel free to engage. And the insights and the guidance which Sonia shared, showing up, asking questions, and not shying away, and there's nothing like not giving up. Just go do it. So thank you. Amazing.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. And great first session, Sonia. Thanks again for gracing us. And we'll see you next on the 18th of March at 8 p.m. with our next speaker in the series. So thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye. Good night.